Jung saw that the 4 stages of alchemy were very symbolic to the processes of personal transformation. He related each stage of alchemy to his psychological scheme of the archetypes within the collective unconscious. In this video, I will go through them, but with a slightly different take. I will instead incorporate the tarot with a single card to each given alchemical stage. The Grado, an alchemical term correspondingly psychological to the mental disorientation that typically arises in the process of assimilating unconscious contents, particularly aspects of the shadow. Self-knowledge is an adventure that carries us unexpectedly far and deep. Even a moderately comprehensive knowledge of the shadow can cause a good deal of confusion and mental darkness, since it gives rise to personality problems, which one had never remotely imagined before. For this reason alone, we can understand why it was called Grado Melancholia, a blacker than black night, an affliction of the soul, confusion, etc., or, more pointedly, the Black Raven. The Death card is a positive disguise, usually depicted as that which rides over all, which in being is no different from the functions of fate itself. The Grim Reaper always has a scythe, which is symbolic of cutting that which has been around for too long enough that it has grown into a comfortable stagnation and has dragged you along with it. Thus, this is a card of transformation, that the skeleton inside yearns for change and to kill off any emotional boundaries there may be for the sake of development. All in all, this card is archetypal of the shadow, a calling for the cutting off of all emotional boundaries and getting to the core of our oppressions, emotions and instabilities. Just like that in the first stage of alchemy, the Grado, we need to kill off our past self and unexamined self-conception, so that we may turn to ashes for renewal, as there is never any renewal without death. There's no phoenix without ashes. As for any unexamined individual, one may live without touching their shadow, to instead continue living within their own bubble of ignorance, projection and fear. Thus the Death card presents us with a good form of death, an invitation to the death of what was already a rotting image of ourselves, committing to self-confession, our old selves of being something we never loved or desired to begin with. This within alchemy is the beginning of the great work, as they say, to initiate the prima materia by burning it down for the sake of renewal. Like volcanic ash, stripped to its core, it is nothing but vital force full of potential that can be applied to the growth of new beginnings. Albedo. This leads me on to the next card, which is that of the Lovers. Jung related the alchemical stage of albedo with that of the contrasexual, slow integration and realization of the unconscious opposite, which would either be the anima or animus depending on your gender and sex, which in association with the card is all about making a dramatic change in attitude, and in this case a change in attitude with oneself via creating a dialogue. That the man needs to get in touch with his feminine, and vice versa, not to perversely fall in love with some kind of distorted narcissism, but to pay attention to their emotional currents to reach purification. Many can learn to understand that arrogance, contempt, resentment, spite, and relative fear can many a time rise from a poor integration of the unconscious opposite, whether it be feminine or masculine. The third tarot card in relation to the 4 stages of alchemy would be, in my view, Temperance. In alchemy, the 3rd stage is called Citrinitas, or the yellowing, often understood for as the dawning of the solar light, inherent in one's being, or as being yellow, the directing light of wisdom, and a new leading star to enlightenment. Jung saw this as being archetypal to the wise old man or woman, that which comes as a figure of wise authority for the individual's direction within consciousness. As what else would come from the soul after recognizing and integrating the opposites? The sage within, or that which understands what needs to be weighed and balanced. That one has reached a point of being able to lead with the understanding of what has and needs to be done. I choose Temperance from the tarot because being wise is all about being tempered, in a sense, understanding and knowing what is within one's own hands and weighing up the possibilities. As in alchemy, temperance was seen as the doctrine of solution, in which all elements are combined. Wisdom is about understanding volatile factors for the sake of a successful conclusion. Having the ability to adapt to new surroundings around you so that you are wise and can begin to lead oneself forward in action from understanding the hurdles that have previously been overcome. Hence the pouring of pitcher and cup. The winged angel pours water from left to right. In other words, making the unconscious conscious and using that flowing ability for the attainment of wisdom itself. And this leads us into the last alchemical stage called Albedo, representative in my interpretation within the tarot of the card that is the world, or in other words, the self. If the self is the entanglement of all archetypes, then the self can also be world-like. Everything that exists and all that has been known to exist in one single place. Represented not only by a hermaphrodite to symbolize individuation and mental psychological balance, but also by 4 symbols of a man, bull, lion and eagle. This is the most totalifying card in tarot, with the 4 elements and the 4 fixed signs of the zodiac. A completed symbol to symbolize individuation, while also being comparatively symbolic with the self and mandala. A reconciliation of all opposites, and acceptance of all the world that is. But, even though it is a triumph and sign of finished battles, it is also an ending in cycle, and not one of completion itself. For if betterment can never find completion, neither can evil. More so, a completion of what is now and not what is yet to be. This for alchemy would be the making of the Philosopher's Stone or the Great Round, the completion of transformation from lead to gold. Overall, the tarot is very useful for many personal intentions. They in many a way act like dreams in a sense, the display of the cards being full of vitality and symbolic imagery, whereby you observe from the outside in, and intuit the expressions of the collective unconscious through the cards themselves. In this way, we can come to see the cards as that which provokes the unconscious itself, that with an open understanding we can examine them in relation to what is unknown to us to gain insight and understanding of what is important to our questions. They in a sense act like gatekeepers to wisdom or knowledge, something that can maybe even be used psychoanalytically. With that said, they hold a degree of practicality in this sense, that many with a different view would say is nonsense, but I would not claim the cards to be of any paranormal phenomena, but rather symbols that yield personal wisdom with regards to unconscious contents of our psyche. With that said, I would recommend you get a pack, maybe even a few readings. If you desire to get in touch with that creative, intuitive side of thinking within your mind, I would highly recommend looking into them. Learning to understand the use of symbol, imagery and art is something the right hemisphere enjoys, as it provokes uniqueness, imagination, and finding correlations by using your own intuition. So with that said, thanks for watching, and I'll speak to you in the next video.